probably get familiar. So if you don't know by now, then you should probably get familiar. So if you don't know by now, then you should probably get familiar.
Just give her, you got no hold, not no sliver. All day I keep drinking whiskey straight.
Hey guys, you're back with Juzzy Evo X, and as you can see today, I've got an update for the rear of my Evo 10 boot. So for a while now, I've been driving with this interior cover on the underside of the actual boot lid, and because I've now got the Raceworks surge tank installed in the car, I wanted to hide that so that it's just back to the OEM look. So I've got the carpets on both sides, carpet on the bottom, and then this large plastic cover. And if you remember, the surge tank came out a little bit from where the back of the back seat was. So the only mod I had to make to change it was to remove, cut off and just dremel down the prod that is at the back side bottom of this part here, because that was hitting into the special mount that AK Racing made for me for the surge tank. And then, yeah, because the plastic is a little bit far back, it's just got approximately 1 centimeter of distance between where it would normally sit flush to the top. So when you're actually standing from back here, you'd never even know. Even looking down here, you'd never even know. It all looks factory. So this has been off my car for somewhere around the last 1 to 2 years. And whilst I was putting this cover back onto the car, I thought, oh, I haven't actually done a video about the lithium battery that I updated and put into my car somewhere around the end of March or early April of this year, 2021. So in my quest for weight saving for the Evo 10, I originally was running an Odyssey PC680, which is not this one. This one is the PC925 MJT, and MJT simply just refers to the dimension of the terminals. MJT is what you need, the thickness, the right thickness for an Evo 10. So originally I was running a PC680, so Odyssey PC680, and it kind of looks like a single DIN radio head unit. It was fairly small. You could lie it, the big advantage of it is that you could lie it flat like that in this position, and it helped with a lower center of gravity. And that battery, I think, weighed somewhere around 7 kilograms. And unfortunately what had happened was, and I didn't know it, is that at the time my car had a faulty device in it which was drawing battery power, and these Odyssey batteries don't have much reserve. In fact, I think the PC680 had somewhere around 15 minutes of reserve after you turn the car off. So as you can imagine, if you're running something like a dash cam, particularly front and rear like I do, and particularly in parking mode, so that when you leave your car it records, motion events, etc., then on top of having something that was draining my battery if you're a faulty device as well, yeah, it didn't leave much in reserve. So what I had found out was I had a problem with a faulty box, a digital box that was used as a cutoff point. When the battery voltage dropped below a certain point, it's supposed to stop the dash cams from working, and in this case the box had failed and the box itself had a problem as well, and so it actually did the opposite. It was actually draining the battery, and it ended up killing that PC680. So I eventually then sold it and bought this PC 925, which had a bit more reserve. I'm going to roughly going to say, I think that it was about 25 minutes instead of sort of 15, maybe 20 to 25 minutes. And just looking at the stats there. So a lot of people either run these two batteries. They've done so for years for the Evo 10 channel. And so, yeah, so basically for the car, so I basically ran this battery, which meant that I couldn't run the stock battery posts, which this post is not. But I couldn't run the stock battery posts, so I had to go and buy some smaller J posts, just like this, a J post there, so I could fit there and work, because unfortunately the thread height is too high. It's way over the height of this battery. So it gave me a bit more reserve. Unfortunately, I still had a problem with the car and I couldn't figure out what it was that was draining my battery. So I simply knew that when I turned my car off, I would get out the voltmeter, I'd test the voltage at the battery, and then the next day I'd come back and the battery had drained significantly. And no matter what sort of battery you've got, if you do that over and over, then you're going to end up killing the battery. So I ended up having to remove this battery before it got into worse of a condition. But what I did was I decided to get the problem sorted. So I took the car into AK Racing. They figured out exactly what it was that was the problem. We removed that box, and at the same time they said to me, hey, we've got this brand new sort of battery that's come into stock, and it's called the Megalife MV19L, and it is a lithium battery that has its own sort of jump starter built into it itself. So I thought, okay, that's great. Sounds like a great idea. It would fit. It comes with special sort of cylinders that you place over the stock terminals, because the terminals were a little bit too small for an Evo 10. So it came with these cylinders. Great. Pop them on, tighten them up, and away you go. Now this battery looks absolutely gigantic in comparison to this one, or even the PC680. And the reason why it is actually lighter is because it uses lithium battery technology. So the batteries are so light, and this battery weighs somewhere around 3.5 kilos. I can't remember exactly how much it is, but it was half the weight of the PC680, and yeah, about a third of the weight of this thing. So by looking at these two batteries, you would think, oh well, there's no way that battery could be lighter. But because it is a lithium battery, it was amazingly light. So just some stats on this battery. It's basically a 12 volt 30 Ah 750 CCA, so it's got plenty of crank to it. And yeah, it's as I said, it comes in two versions. Now I got the version that has the jump start, and it might be a bit hard to see, but there is a tiny little button just there that is used to jump start the car. So basically if for some reason you had drained this battery down low, maybe you put it into storage, and then you came to start the car, I don't know, 6 months or a year later, then if you didn't have enough voltage, then what you can do is you can press that, and there is a separate compartment in this whole box that is reserved simply for jump starting. So as you drive, it charges that separate compartment and makes sure that it's always got some sort of reserve. So you press the button, you then go and start the car will start, and then you come back and you press that button to turn off the jump start. So the good thing about that is you never have to worry about having battery leads in the car. Your battery is always going to have the ability to jump start itself, and away you go. Now you can get a version that doesn't have that jump start, and so therefore you don't then have a separate compartment with separate cells, and so therefore the overall weight of that battery comes down to, I think it's about 3 kilos flat, probably even lighter. But what I wanted to do was just basically talk about what my thoughts are on the battery now that I've purchased it and had it installed in my car since the end of March, and we're now in early to mid-November. So it's, you know, it's been a reasonable amount of time. I've had it for around about 8 months. So I can tell you that this battery has been amazing. It's super lightweight, and even though it's taller than this or the Odyssey PC680, the weight itself is amazingly different. And when I bought this battery and the other Odyssey battery, this battery didn't exist. And yeah, so I certainly was able to weight save from the factory battery. So another thing we need to talk about is that the factory battery is somewhere around 18 kilograms. It is very heavy. It's a deep cycle battery. And yeah, amazingly, when you swap to one of these, it's a performance booster in itself because you are shedding weight. So if you can imagine you're shedding somewhere around 15 kilograms of weight from the stock Evo 10 battery, you pop this in, you've got awesome starting ability. You've got the ability to jumpstart your car whenever you want and not have to worry about calling for your mate to come and bring some jumping cables or something like the RACQ, which is the 24-hour aftercare service, roadside assist. Then this is a great battery for you. So I bought this from akracing.com.au and it was around about $595. And yeah, so when I had this installed, I didn't actually have the factory posts here, but yeah, it's roughly about the same height as the factory one. I do know that I have been able to reuse the factory battery bar that goes across the car. And yeah, so as a part of all the weight saving I've done to drop the car to get it down to around about 1,420 kilograms race weight. And when I say that is an approximation. I did get it weighed at a weighing station at 1,440 kilograms at half a tank. But now with my surge tank set up in the car, then I can drop at least a quarter of a tank. So 15 liters of E85 can be dropped from the car. And yeah, a lot more than that. Yeah, so that brings me down to around about 1,425 or so. So big benefit. And yeah, one of the biggest or the biggest weight saving thing I did, mod I did to this car was to swap out to this Mega Life battery. So it's made by Buddy Club, which is a long-term Japanese manufacturer of performance parts for the JDM market. And yeah, basically, I would thoroughly recommend it to anyone who's looking to get great cranking power, excellent with E85, made a huge difference. Cold start, really good. No problems running in the hot temperatures here in Brisbane, Australia. And yeah, overall, just a great battery to have and use. So again, if you'd like to purchase it and you're in Australia, you can buy it from akracing.com.au. And you've got any questions about that battery or just weight saving in particular, please feel free to send me a message either here on YouTube or on my Instagram channel, Evo X. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.